Well, it may be safe to say that people at the SEC may not be getting a pay raise either, but I wouldn't necessarily count it out. Have you heard about this? There's a stunning report. This was first surfaced in the Associated Press. And this is that while the financial world was pretty much crashing and burning, high-level members of the Securities and Exchange Commission were spending more time surfing for porn, more than they had previously. In fact, it got ratcheted up as the crisis got worse, according to their numbers. In some cases, some of these SEC employees spent 8 hours a day watching pornography rather than watching what was going on Wall Street. I mean, it's shocking, right? But this is the report from the AP, okay? Peter Mirajanian joins me. He's a former advisor to the Clinton-Gore and Gore-Lieberman campaigns. Brad Blakeman's here as well. He's a former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush. I mean, you just have to shake your head and wonder about this. I mean, Brad, first of all, my first question is, all the way through Madoff, all the way through Stanford, all the way through the financial crisis and not watching what they were supposed to be watching, you know, I think maybe 2 people resigned. Does anyone ever get fired for anything from this organization?
See, that's the problem, Martha, is these bureaucrats are empowered. They know they're safe. In some instances, they're civil service. In some instances, they serve at the pleasure of the president. But maybe they were looking at porn because they were thinking of new ways to screw the American people. Maybe it was appropriate for them to be looking at this stuff. But let me tell you something. Darrell Issa is right, Congressman Issa from California. This guy's a successful businessman. He's right on target. They need a top-to-bottom cleaning house of this agency. And let's see what the Democrats do. They're in power, Peter. You guys are in power. Let's see what you guys do between now and the elections in 2010 to clean up the SEC instead of creating more government, which is surely going to empower people who are not directly responsible to the people.
Go ahead, Peter, respond.
There's a lot there. First of all, this happened in 2007 and 2008 when the previous administration was in power. I don't think it has anything to do
with... You guys were in control of the House and Senate banking committees.
Brad, that has nothing to do whether or not someone is surfing porn at the SEC. The fact of the matter is the cops we have to put the cops back on Wall Street, which is what President Obama said yesterday, which is what this financial reform bill will do. Yes, the SEC is a disaster. I think we can both agree on that. They need to be more aggressive in bringing cases against firms like Goldman Sachs and others. So, I mean, I think it's outrageous, and I share, Congressman Issa's outrage, feelings about this issue. But I think the SEC is out of control. Peter, I think it's been asleep at the switch, and I think that's why we're in the mess we're in.
Let me just, for anybody who's just tuning in, let me just go through a couple of these, just so you get the feel of what we're talking about here. The SEC's Inspector General conducted 33 probes into employees, looking at explicit images over the past 5 years. 31 of those occurred in the 2.5 years during the financial meltdown. They go on to describe one person who was a senior-level person who ran out of room on their hard drive from downloading pornography, so they started to, lay it off onto discs and pack it in boxes in their office. I am so, this is on a couple levels, but I'm just, if they found this much there, just imagine how much is going on in other places. And, if it happens in a private company, that's one thing. They can fire those people. But when it happens when the taxpayers are paying their salaries and they're spending 8 years and they let all of this unravel in front of them, it's disgusting, frankly. And you do, Peter, so how do you justify starting another agency to oversee Wall Street when this one is doing this stuff?
Well, Martha, I don't think we would make the argument that you don't bring financial reforms into place and don't try to put, as I said earlier, cops on the beat because there are people surfing porn at the SEC.
Certainly not.
I think the fact of the matter is the head of the SEC needs to get her arms around this. I think that, the fact of the matter is there have been a number of cases that should have been brought against firms that are engaging in speculative behavior, derivatives. We see the Goldman Sachs case now percolating up that should have been the canary in the coal mine. Madoff is the obvious example of that. So I'm outraged as well. I think there's no excuse for it.
Long before I heard about this porn story, I kept asking this question, Brad. Why aren't heads rolling at the SEC? 2 people, according to my readings, 2 people resigned. They weren't fired. They resigned. They were pushed out, whatever. But, it just begs the question, what the heck is going on there?
The Obama administration and Congress are not stepping up to the plate. Look, the executive branch and the congressional branch all love power. They hate responsibility. And what Congress needs to do is take responsibility. They have the ultimate responsibility for oversight and control of our financial services.
Brad, we're trying to do that by passing.
We're trying to do that by passing a financial reform bill. No, you're not. No, here's what you're doing, Peter. Very simply.
Brad,
you're
why did this happen in 2007
You're creating a slush fund to let Wall Street do it again, and then you're creating
there are no bailouts
more government bureaucracy.
Peter, very quick last word if you can.
My last word is this. This happened in 2007, 2008. I'm not going to blame the Bush administration for this person surfing porn.
You just did.
I think it's ridiculous that Brad is blaming the Obama administration for SEC people surfing porn.
You're in power. You've been in power for almost 2 years.
I agree. I don't think this is an administration-level question. This is a question of the SEC doing its job, and if they can't do their job, then people should lose their jobs. It's as simple as that.
I agree,
and
Martha.
It's absolutely crazy, and it does raise questions. I'd be curious to know the timing of all of this and why we're hearing about this now, but that's a story perhaps for another day. Peter Mirajanian and Brad Blakeman, thank you very much.